welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you do me a favor, please subscribe to wherever you're listening. Please subscribe to wherever you're watching. It definitely means a lot to me. So we're in March, the shortest month ever in February. Just concluded. So Black History Month just concluded. All the corporations are burning their Black History Month decorations. And with March, of course, brings Future's March Madness. Also, it brings the end of the college basketball regular season. Conference tournaments come and go. And then, of course, March Madness, the college pretty much playoffs begin. And, of course, because this is the end of the season, you pretty much have a grasp on which teams are good, which teams are not. Which teams are only good or their record only good because they don't really have competition. You pretty much know that by the end of the year. This is the end of the year for college basketball. And last episode, I talked about the NBA, and I had a little segment saying who are contenders and who are pretenders. What I wanted to do is I wanted to bring that to this episode, but I want to talk about, of course, the men's college basketball side and the women's college basketball side. I think this is Women's History Month too, so shouts out to women. But let's start with a team that people are going to say, "What?" Let's start with Arizona. Now, the Arizona Wildcats, they are second in, they're ranked second. They are 25-3. Arizona is a team that it seems like when you watch Arizona play, they just run around everywhere. It's just it's a long team, it's a scrappy team, it's a defensive team, but it's also a team that can put some points on you. I mean, let me see. In their win now, of course, they have won, winning they put 104 up, 105, 94, 101, 84, 95. Like they can put some 91, they can put points on the board. Being led by Benedict Mathurin, he leads the team with 17 points a game. This is a good team. So you're probably asking why am I putting the Arizona Wildcats as, why am I putting them in are they contenders or pretenders? I mean, they're the second ranked team in college basketball. Well, I don't know if you remember, but last week, every college basketball, not every, but all the top 4 or 5 teams all lost. And it kind of, let me say this. I do think that Arizona are contenders. Of course, they're second. They're second in the nation. The thing is, though, when we talk about Arizona, I think Arizona is one of those teams that could fall early. And I'll tell you why. I just said that Arizona's a good team. That they're, Christian Coloco, he averages 3 blocks a game and 7 rebounds. This is a good team. The problem is, though, they can go into there are times when their offense is not clicking. And when their offense is not clicking, I don't feel that their defense is able to pick up their offense. Like there's some teams that their offense thrives on, or their defense thrives on their offense. They're only playing good defense, or they're only playing good defense when their offense is clicking. You see that a lot, that they're usually considered offensive-oriented teams. And I just feel that is the case for Arizona. When they played UCLA the first time, now the second time they did beat UCLA, but when they played UCLA the first time and lost, 75-59, Arizona could not throw the ball in the hoop the second half. And because of that, their defense just wasn't clicking. And this is against a UCLA team that's been up and down all year. So I do think that, of course, they're second in the nation, so I think that they're contenders. However, I do also think that they could be in high upset alert, seeing as though if they're not scoring, their defense is not good enough. Like Baylor. Baylor is a perfect team for this example. Baylor just played Kansas, right? And Baylor's offense was not clicking at all. In fact, they were down like 13 or 14 in the first half. However, because Baylor is such a rugged team, their offensive woes did not dictate or did not change the way that they played defense. And because of that, the second half, when shots started to fall, they already had the ruggedness, they already had the defensive momentum. They came and beat Kansas. So I do think that, going back to Arizona, I think Arizona is, of course, contenders. I just feel, say Benedict's not hitting. Say Kerr Kishla's not hitting. Like, at that point, it's like, all right, now Kerr does average like 10 points a game, but just say their big names aren't hitting. I don't know if their defense will be able to steer the ship. So I do think Arizona are contenders. I just also think that they could be on high alert as far as upsets. And speaking of Baylor, Baylor's number 3, 25-5. I think that Baylor, which is weird because it's weird to say it when you have a team that their only losses have come to like Kansas. Well, they got dogged by Kansas. Texas Tech twice. And Oklahoma. And Alabama. I talked early on, like in the beginning of the year. And I said that this year is different than a lot of years for college basketball. This year, a lot of people say, oh, it's wide open. Now, a lot of people say it's wide open due to the fact that usually when people say it's wide open, either there's not a great team and every team is pretty much on the same playing field, or either there's a major injury for a big team or something like that, and it kind of brings that team down to notch. I said going into this year that this year is wide open, but it's not due to the fact that, it's not a great team. There's a lot of great teams. Like if you look, Gonzaga's a great team. Arizona's a great team. Baylor's a great team. Duke's a great team. And we'll talk about some of these teams individually, and that's the top 4, right? Auburn, that was number 1 for a minute. They're a great team. You can even go down. Tennessee's a really good team. Houston's a really good team. UConn, which has surprised me this year, they're a really good team. Murray State's a good team. It's just this is pretty much, I'm not gonna say the golden ages, but this is one of the best years that college basketball has seen. There's upset alert after upset alert, but it's only because the playing field is even. Now, no. I'm not saying like an Alabama is on the same level as Gonzaga. I'm not saying that. Unfortunately, my beloved North Carolina is on the same level right now as Duke. I'm not saying that. There have been some teams that, have underperformed or performed not as I thought they would. Now, there are some teams that aren't in the top 25 that are still really good teams, like Michigan State. Michigan State, that they I think they just beat Purdue at the buzzer. Like there's some really good teams. Davison's good this year. So when I say the playing field is even, I'm saying that as these are really good teams. Like all these teams are really good. Now, so you can kind of say all these teams are on upset alert, but as far as going into the playoffs, or going into March Madness, but this is a really good year for college basketball. Now let's get back to Baylor. Baylor's an interesting team. To me, Baylor is kind of like the Jacqueline Hyde team, kind of like the Two-Face team. Because you know what you're going to get. You have the person. Baylor's going to play defense. They're going to play rugged on defense. And you're going to be in a scrap almost all game. But Baylor isn't that good offensively. Like they put up 104 against Northwestern State, but they're not the best defense. They're not the best offensive team, and because of that, any drop off of their defense can be catastrophic for this team. And we saw that against Texas Tech twice, against Oklahoma, against Kansas the first time they played. They, to me, I mean, Adam Fagler, while he averages 14 points a game, he's kind of been inconsistent. But this the Baylor defense is what keeps them afloat, and that's what I do like about Baylor. That's what I do like about Baylor. Baylor, we know their defense. I mean, their offense is. They know their offense isn't the best. Fagler and James Akijo. If they're not scoring, their defense is still A1, and I think that's going to keep. I think Baylor is going to be one of those teams that make a deep playoff run because of their defense. We saw that a couple years ago. What was that team? What was the team? We saw it a couple years ago. Actually, we saw it with Auburn a couple years ago when they had Okoro. Like their defense was rugged. They beat North Carolina. Mississippi State. Mississippi State a couple years ago. When they had Robert Williams, their offense wasn't that good, but they were a defensive juggernaut, especially in the paint. Baylor's the same way. It's like while they're not the best offensive team, their defense will get at you, and I don't think that they have to worry about early exit because their defense travels. And you don't see that a lot with college basketball teams, but their defense travels, and I think that they're going to be good wherever they go. So I think Baylor's going to make a deep playoff run, so I don't think that they're in jeopardy of losing early. A team that I do think is in jeopardy of losing early is Auburn. Auburn possibly has the number 1 overall draft pick this year in Jabril Smith. That man is incredible. He averages 17 points a game. Like he's tough. They also have a player that's possibly going to be the defensive player of the year for college basketball in Walker Kessler. First and foremost, where the hell was this at? Fit matters. If nothing else, look at if you don't want to believe me when I say fit matters, like sometimes a new environment matters. Look at Auburn. Look at Jabari Smith and look at Walker Kessler. Jabari Smith comes from Georgia. While he played really well at Georgia, the man has played himself into an impossible number 1 overall draft pick at Auburn. He has had one of the best seasons. Well, he's had arguably the best season this year out of everybody. And Walker Kessler. Where the hell was this at North Carolina? Walker Kessler did not look like this in the slightest at North Carolina. Now he's arguably one of the best defensive players in college. I mean, the man averages damn near 5 blocks a game. Five blocks a game, 8 rebounds, and 1 steal. Where the hell was this in North Carolina? Jesus Christ. But the reason why I feel that this team can lose early is because of their guard play. Wendell Green Jr. is good. He averages 12 points a game. And they're good at guard. I will say they're good at their guards are good. The problem, however, is to me, how do I say this? How do I say this? Their guards are not as consistent as they need to be. In fact, almost every game they've lost, now they've lost 4 games. Now, it's not a lot of games, but every game they lost, you can arguably say either in crunch moments or the entire game, their guards did not come up big. And actually, there's a lot of games that they've won that their guards did not come up big, like against Georgia. If it wasn't, Jabril Smith had to save them pretty much in Georgia. Missouri. I just feel like their guard play has not been consistent enough to warrant them making a deep run. Now, they could make a deep run. Again, they have arguably the number 1 overall pick in the draft in this year's draft in Jabril Smith. They arguably have the best defensive player in college basketball, and so they can lean on that. But what happens when teams single in on Jabari Smith? What happens when teams single in on Walker Kessler? You're going to need Wendell Green. You're going to need Zip Zasper. You're going to need them to be better. And if they don't step up to the plate, which we saw against Tennessee, it's not going to work. So I do think that Auburn there's a good shot that Auburn can lose early. Like, there's a good shot. I don't. And that's the thing about this college basketball year. I can see a Gonzaga. I can see any team. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but I can see any team lose. I know they say like any given Sunday for football, but I can see a team losing. Now, I don't think this is going to be the year that a 16 beats a 1. I don't think that's ever. I honestly don't think that's going to happen ever again. But this is not the year. I don't think that more than likely the 1 seeds are going to be Gonzaga, maybe Duke, Baylor, maybe Auburn, maybe Arizona. I just don't see any 16 team beating them. But I do think that moving forward, Auburn could fall because what happens when you single in on their 2 best players. You're going to need the guard play to sustain them, and I don't think that they're good enough to do that. So let me talk about Duke. Yo, it really pains me to say this. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm all right. You know how you have a favorite team, right? Like, you have a favorite team. You have a favorite something. North Carolina is my favorite team. My dad's side of the family is all from North Carolina, so I grew up a Tar Heel fan. It was either North Carolina or Maryland. So, and of course, my mom's side from Maryland. I've always been a fan of both teams. Of course, North Carolina, Juan Dixon years and Grievous Vasquez years, and Maryland, Steve Blake. So it's gonna pain me to say this. It really is. But this is a podcast. This is a sports podcast, and I have to be as unbiased as possible. Yo, I think I think Duke might be. I think you can argue that Duke is the best team in college basketball. Now, I know they don't have the record. I mean, they're 25-4, and they lost. They lost to Miami. They lost to Florida State. They lost to Ohio State, and they lost to Virginia. I think they lost to Virginia. They lost to Virginia at the buzzer. But when you have a player like Apollo Bantro playing the way that he's playing, and even if he's having an off day, you also have Wendell Moore Jr. chipping in for 13 points a game, 5 assists. Then if he's not playing well, you have Mark Williams chipping in with 11 points a game. Yeah, this team is. I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 people scoring over 10 points a game. AJ Griffin, Mark Williams, Trevor Keels, Wendell Moore Jr., and Paolo. And Paulo can he's one of those another player that could arguably be a top pick in the NBA draft. And it's not just that, man. You got three people averaging more than 5 rebounds a game. Yeah, this is the thing is they're playing inspired. They're playing of course this is Coach K's last year, and you're starting to hear last time in last time in the Roy Williams Center, last time here, last time there. So they're playing inspired, but this is a good team. This is the only problem that I think they could run into is their offense can stall. Paulo is not the best offensive player, but what I will say is because they can lean on so many other people, or they can lean on Wendell Moore. Paulo is their best player. So when he stalls, they kind of stalls. But again, you have multiple people that can pick up the slack. I just think, I think Duke is one of those teams, man. We always talk about these super teams, these super college basketball teams, and we always throw in Duke, we always throw in Kentucky, North Carolina, all those teams, because they have been the best recruiting teams. However, what we don't talk about is Duke hasn't won. I think the last time Duke won a national championship was with Quinn Cook and Jabbar. It was with Quinn Cook and what's his name? I forgot his name. I'm seeing his face. Quinn Cook and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I'm gonna get it. But Quinn Cook and those boys, and then Kentucky. The last time they won a national championship was with Anthony Davis. Now this is the same Kentucky team that's had Karl Anthony Towns. They've had De'Aaron Fox. They've had Bam Adebayo. They had Devin Booker. Like, they've had squads. They just haven't won. I think this could be the year that either Kentucky or Duke could see it, because Kentucky has a tough squad too. Now, Kentucky, the problem with Kentucky is they don't play that well defense. I ain't gonna hold you. Outside of they have they're one player dependent. They are it's Oscar Tresby or nothing. Like they now he is averaging 17 points a game. Damn. 17 points a game, 15 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That man is a monster. The only problem is they're too dependent on him. Outside of him, TT Washington, but he's inconsistent. Kalen Grady, he's inconsistent. Now they are averaging, like Duke, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4 people averaging over 10 points, but this team is Oscar Tresby or nothing. That's honestly what this team is. Kentucky, but back to Duke. I do think that Duke has an opportunity and a chance to win it all. They could possibly, because I've seen them turn up but when they turn up, it is crazy. When Duke can be, it can be a 2-point game. I've seen this. It can be a 2-point game, and then in the next 3 minutes, the 2 can go up to 15 like that. Duke might be the best team. Now, I talked about, we talked about some of the big names. Of course, Gonzaga. They're all contenders. Gonzaga, Arizona, Baylor, Duke, Auburn, Kansas, Kentucky, Purdue, they're kind of up and down, but Purdue are contenders. Providence is a contender. So the question is, are there any dark horses? Because to me, if you're in the top 10, you're not a dark horse. I think Wisconsin can win. If you're not a dark horse if you're a top 10. Unless it's like one of those years where the 1 and 2 are just drastically better, like Virginia. When Virginia was just drastically better than everybody. That one year when they had Kyle Guy, they were just drastically better than everybody. And to me, if anybody were to beat them, I think they played Texas Tech and Jared Culliver. Like, and it wasn't close. It wasn't close. The year Villanova was just destroying people with Dante DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. When Eric Pascal, I think, was on that team. Those to me, any other team outside of that team would have been a dark horse because they were just drastically better than everybody. Now there have been teams that were drastically better than everybody in the regular season and it just didn't amount to nothing in the playoffs, i.e., I'm not going to say amount to nothing, but didn't win at all, i.e. Kentucky. When Kentucky had Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns and the Harrison brothers, they lost to Frank Kaminsky in the national. They lost to Frank Kaminsky. Yeah. And that's the year that Okafor, boom, I told you I was going to get it. Okafor for Duke. That's the last time Duke won, when it was Jahlil Okafor and Quinn Cook. Kaboom. So the question is, are there any dark horses for this year? Again, I can see anybody from the top 10 to 15 winning. But I'll say one of my dark horses is USC. I'll say USC is one of my dark horses because, now, yes, they're ranked 16th, but Isaiah Mobley has been great. Isaiah Mobley is averaging 14 points a game, or 15 points a game if you round up, shooting 46% from the field. He's been great. Drew Peterson's been great, averaging 13 points a game. Chavez Godwin's been great, averaging 12 points a game. Like this team, this is a really good team. I do think that, the way that they shoot the three, they kind of play, in my opinion, like a now, of course, there's no James Harden, but they kind of play like a Rockets used to play. They shoot a lot of threes and they try to control the paint, and they do a really good job at that. I mean, I think USC can definitely make it far. I can see them upsetting one of the top teams. I really can. And another team, honestly, that I'm a little surprised about is UConn. UConn be having some wins. Now, of course, we're gonna talk about the Rutgers. Rutgers is gonna get some consideration, seeing as though I think they beat like 4 or 5 top 10 teams. But UConn's been really good, being led by R.J. Cole. Man, UConn's good, and I could see them. I can see them beating a team like they beat Villanova. They beat some quality teams. They beat Marquette. I can see it. I can see it. Hell, they went down to the wire with Seton Hall. I could see it. Now they do have some bad losses. Like they lost to West Virginia. They also lost to Creighton twice. But yeah, I think that, to me, my dark horses this year, or a team, I'm not going to say dark horse. I don't think that USC can win it all. I don't think that the Huskies can win it all. But I do think that, UConn and USC can upset a top team. I can definitely see that. So those, I guess you can say, are my dark horses. So if you want to move over to the women's side, to me, it's this has been a good year for the women's side as well. To me, it's the clear-cut favorite right now. Is South Carolina. South Carolina being led by Aaliyah Boston. She's averaging 17 and 12 with 3 blocks a game. Destiny Henderson's playing well. Zia Cook is playing well again. This is a dominant team. Dawn Staley has this team firing on all cylinders. I don't. I don't outside of South Carolina. The only team that the only it's kind of hard for me to Stanford. They could win. Well, I just don't really see a team. I don't really. I don't know, man. I don't know because South Carolina's been great. Stanford's been really good. NC State has been good. Baylor has been good. Louisville's been good. All these teams have been good. I don't know about UConn. I know that they just got Paige back. You know, after missing, I think she had a MCL thing. They did just get her back, so she's gonna have to play her way back. Even though it was Chrislyn Williams. She's been playing well. She has 15 points a game. Olivia Nelson Adua, she's been playing well, averaging like 10 and 4. But I just don't know if because Aaliyah Boston has been dominant. We talk about Caitlin Clark a lot, and she's hooping her like Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is incredible. Don't get me wrong. She is the main reason why Iowa is 12th right now. Like she is a monster. She's averaging 28 points a game. 28 points a game, 8 rebounds. 8 assists, I'm sorry. And 8 rebounds. 28, 8, and 8. That's some NBA numbers right there. The only problem is, and I see this happen a lot, is they'll get stuck on a player. The voters and the media, the fans, they'll get stuck on one player and just completely, I'm not going to say forget about another player, but completely just like neglect another player. Like, people have been saying that Caitlin Clark has been just leaps and bounds better than everybody. Now, what I will say is she has been great at scoring the ball. She be letting that show go like 2 steps out, 2 steps inside the half court line. She'll pull like that. She's been incredible, man. But there's a lot of women that there's a lot of women that you can't just say that she is leaps and bounds the best college basketball women's player, because Aaliyah Boston has been incredible. Anissa Morrow from DePaul has been incredible. Anissa Morrow is averaging 22 points a game. 22 points. Like 22 points and 14 rebounds. 14 rebounds, 3 steals. 3 steals and 2 blocks. Come on now. We'll talk about them in a second, but Maryland, like, Angel Reese is going crazy, averaging 18 points a game. 18 points a game, 11 rebounds, 1 block. Like, I just don't like the fact that a lot of people get stuck with, and don't get me wrong, this is not a shot at Caitlin Clark at all. Caitlin Clark has been incredible. Caitlin Clark has been putting up numbers that are crazy. Caitlin Clark could possibly win the AP Woman Player of the Year. However, I just don't like that they're saying that it's just it's a one woman race, because Aaliyah Boston has arguably been the best player in college basketball. Anissa Morrow has arguably been the best player in college basketball. Angel Reese, shouts out to my Baltimore native, has been one of the best players in college basketball. So, shouts out to Caitlin, and no offense to her. Even still, I don't even think now. I'll be real. If you want to talk about upset alert, I don't even think that's upset, because Iowa goes as far as Caitlin takes them. That's honestly how it is, and I don't see Iowa going far, because all you have to do for Iowa is now, again, it's easier said than done, but is slow down Caitlin Clark. If you can do that, now that's a lie, because I forgot about Monica Chorizo. She's pretty good, but Yeah, nah. Caitlin Clark is there pretty much their engine. If you can slow her down and make Monica beat you, you good. You good. You good. So I just don't see a team right now beating South Carolina. But I will say is this, and it goes to my dark horse, and I think that the one of the biggest dark horses is number 11 Maryland. Now I'm not just saying that because I'm from Maryland, but if you look, Maryland has gone through a lot this year, from injuries to they've gone through a lot. But Maryland has 5 players averaging more than 10 points a game. Angel Reese, Ashley Owuzu, Charlie Bibby, or Chloe Bibby, I'm sorry, Diamond Miller, Kate Benzan. Like they have a squad and they can put up points on you easily, like quickly too. That's kind of how the Maryland teams have been in the recent memory. They've been really good. They've been really good offensively, like one of the best offensive teams in college basketball. I think this year more than last year it was Ashley, and of course they had the twins. But I think Angel Reese brings a dynamic that they haven't really seen like that. Like Angel Reese, how tall is she? Angel Reese is 6'3". Like Angel, she's taller than me. Angel Reese has been going crazy. And she has been dependable. I mean, she's shooting 50% from the field, 65% from the free throw line. She can get that up. But this team, I think because Maryland has dealt with so much, and they've been so inconsistent, it's kind of hard to pinpoint how good they can be. But with the players they have, and I've seen Maryland play their best. I mean, Maryland. Let me see something. Maryland has beat people. They beat Baylor, which was a huge win. They played 3 consecutive ranked teams and they beat Baylor, which is a big win. They beat Indiana, top 10 win. They've struggled with playing against some of the top talent, even though they beat Iowa, which is Caitlin Clark, by the way. They beat Ohio State, but when you talk about some of the top teams like South Carolina, they lost. NC State, they lost. Stanford, they lost. Michigan, they lost twice actually. But I do think that when Maryland is on, they can beat anybody. So I think that's my only dark horse for the women's side. Maybe UConn, because getting Paige back. UConn's not, it's still UConn at the end of the day, and it's hard to bet against a Gino Auriemma team, especially when again you're getting your best player back, and because you haven't had her majority of the season, and even with that you have Paige, you have Christian Williams, you have Azzy Fudd averaging 13. She was from Maryland too. You have Caroline. They have a squad, and I can see them going far, but I just don't. They haven't really demonstrated it all year. So, yeah, no, I don't know. To me, especially on the women's side, it's South Carolina or nothing at this point. I'm not gonna say nothing, but South Carolina is kind of up there. So, let's move forward, and this is what I'm gonna end with. So the New York Liberty was fined $500,000 for chartering their players to and from games the second half of the season. For people that don't know, because broke people like myself didn't know what chartering meant, I had to make sure that does chartering mean what I think it means? It is. It means private jets. They were using private planes to transport their players to and from games for the second half of the season. They were fined $500,000, and they were even considering the committee or whatever was even considering terminating terminating the team for this. Now, not all teams are able to afford chartering planes, so because of that, they're not able to do that. Teams can't do that. They can't do that. I understand the how do I tackle this, man? You can't call yourself the best league in the world for women if you don't and continuously show that you do not put your players first. You cannot be considered the best organization for women basketball when time after time after time again it shows that you do not put the women athletes first. I get the pay discrepancy between the WNBA and the NBA. I get it. I get the money that it generates. I get the revenue. The discrepancy between the money that the NBA generates and the money that the WNBA generates. I get that. I get the star power that the NBA has compared to the WNBA. I get that. But there's a difference between pay equity and pay gap and just treatment of players. Think about this. Imagine if we heard that the Chicago Bulls, instead of using a team plane, was using Delta or like United, and I can book a ticket tomorrow and be sitting next to DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. What's going to start to happen if something doesn't change? What you're going to start to see is women. Hell, what you're seeing is women like Liz Cambage speaking out against the organization, and you're going to start having like the Athletic Unlimited, the month league they just did, which was hugely successful. You're going to start having people opt out of the WNBA. There's a reason why. It's crazy to me that almost every interview that I hear about the WNBA nowadays, you hear a sentence say, I get paid more overseas and get treated better overseas than I do here. Imagine that. Imagine if Barcelona, the team Barcelona, paid and treated players, NBA players, better than the NBA. Imagine that. Imagine the Euro leagues paying Steph Curry more than the NBA. There has to be. Now again, I understand that not all teams can afford chartered in the WNBA. Not all teams can afford chartered planes for their players. But the question is why? Why is it that a Liz Cambage has to sit next to me and she's about to go play the Liberty or something? These women, they're time and time and time again, you keep seeing examples that the WNBA don't even care about their women. Cause what? So you're telling me that all the money that, now I understand that it's no fuck. You're telling me that all the money that the WNBA generates, right? Not every team can have a team plane. At least a team plane. Hell, it can be a small ass team plane, but at least it's a team plane. I don't know how many times I have to see footage of a WNBA team getting stuck at an airport because of like a snowstorm or something. Time and time again, the WNBA shows you how they view their players. And the last thing I will say, first of all, there should be no, you're finding a team, because again, I guess competitive disadvantage. You're finding a team for doing something that benefits their players, of course, as little as comfort. You're finding a team. They were talking about terminating the New York Liberty that has Benasia Laney, that has Sabrina Nadescu, that has Dejani, what's his name, Carlton. You were telling me that you were real live they were considering canceling that team, terminating that team, because they were using chartered planes. They were using chartered planes for the comfort of their players. And then, or D.D. Richardson, I apologize. And then tell me, they got Natasha Howard, who's a WNBA. Tell me if they care about their players or not. Again, the last thing I will say, you can't continue to tell me that the WNBA is the best organization for women's basketball if they don't treat their players or pay their players the way that they deserve or the way they should be treated and paid. And the fact that there's outside organizations, i.e. overseas organizations, that pay better than the WNBA should tell you all you need to know about the WNBA. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the that's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, long sleeve, sweater, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get what you like today. Go get you some merch. Also, please subscribe to whoever you're listening. Please subscribe to whoever you're watching. It definitely means a lot to me. And also, leave a comment, leave a like. If you can, share, rate if it's on the DSPs. I'm trying to get the algorithms going. I'm trying to get more people to experience the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for Saturday's episode. I have a couple guests coming. I know. What? A guest? A couple guests coming. We're going to have some topics, so stay tuned for that. I appreciate you guys, and until next time, much love.